I'm Clay Newman. This is the Zoo Review.
This episode features one of the more adorable members of the rodent community, the Beechy ground squirrel. These little guys are named after Frederick William Beechy, who was famous for exploring Northern California in the 1820s before it was cool. They're commonly known as the California ground squirrel these days, but so many things on this show already have California in the title, I'm letting Beechy keep it. Congratulations, Beechy! Your legacy of looking at shit and then naming it after you lives on. They're smaller than the other American squirrels that you're used to seeing, like the western gray squirrel and the eastern fox squirrel. Plus, they have a much cooler and more intricate coat. The Beechy squirrel has a lot going for it in this category, especially when you consider how much food they shove into their tiny, greedy little mouths. But they've got a high-pitched warning cry that does border on annoying, and their babies are ugly as shit and blind for weeks, so I can't give them 20 out of 20. Still, pretty precious creature. In this category, I'm giving them 18 points. Like most squirrels, these guys are pretty low on the food chain. The usual suspects are always taking them out. They are easy targets because they hang out in the open when they're feeding, and there usually are a lot of them. These guys are surprisingly unafraid of people in places where they are used to them. One of the few animals out there that looks at a human being and thinks of it as potential food instead of danger. They'll scare your kids, they'll take your stuff. They've been known to be raging alcoholics. In this category, I'm going to give them a score of 7 points. Now, these are resourceful creatures, if not full-blown clever. Their diet is mostly seeds, but they will eat just about anything, from acorns and roots, to fruit, to insects, and even eggs. They're pretty social animals. Sometimes multiple families will live together in one burrow, and they got many different ways of communicating with each other. Audibly, of course, visually through their tail, as you would hope, and they have specialized scent glands, which come in handy too. They hibernate, which earns you a couple of intelligence points, and the lady squirrels can get it. Litters often have babies with multiple different daddies. The males got a trick too. Their testicles don't drop until it's baby making time. If you see a squirrel's balls, you fucking run. In this category, pretty good tricks. I'm gonna give them a score of 13 points. Not only do they have special adorable pockets in their cheeks, which they use to cram in way too much food, they are also great burrowers and use that for food storage as well. Their burrows can be pretty intricate. They can have multiple openings, and they can be over 100 feet long. There are different spaces inside designated for different things. There's one space for food storage, one space that's a makeshift nursery, and the other space is for sleeping. Unfortunately, there is no designated space for shitting. That happens everywhere in the squirrel house. Unfortunately, there are drawbacks to this. They are not great at defending their homes. Females are constantly having to move their litters because their tunnels are being stolen by scary rodents or snakes. But when it comes down to it, the variety of food and their ability to store it are the two main reasons for the success of this species. And so, in this category, because they are pretty successful, I'm going to give them 14 points. Will they make it? The Beechy ground squirrel is officially listed as least concern. They're gonna be fine. Their population is stable, and they're found in just about any kind of environment you could imagine in the West Coast, other than deserts. It's a little too much for them out there. They prefer an area with loose soil for burrowing, but they can survive just about anywhere. The food storage methods for these animals are so successful that these squirrels rarely leave a 150-foot radius of their home. That means they've probably got pretty awful worldviews, but is a good sign for their species. They do piss off farmers, which is not a smart move in this category, but if humans ever get feisty with these squirrels, they could fight back because they carry the ticks that carry the bubonic plague. I can't give them a low score in this category. We might not even survive them. I'm going to give them 18 points. Well, the scores are in, the results are tallied, and apparently I'm a bit of a squirrel fan. The Beechy ground squirrel got a score of 70 points, which is good enough for second place out of 32, tied with the American crow, just ahead of the Sumatran tiger, who has a nice score in his own right. Side note, giving myself a pretty low score in intelligence on this episode. Even after all this research, I still cannot spell squirrel correctly on the first try. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Check out my Instagram if you want to see more stupid animal videos. Y'all have a lovely rest of your day.
Hi. Yeah. You're Clay's squirrel. That means you drink. Oh, no, don't you refuse my claw? Oh.